Ethan Brooks had driven a city bus through the winding streets of Milltown for almost 17 years. Rain, snow, or searing heat. He showed up every morning, wearing the same navy blue uniform and the same tired but friendly smile. Passengers barely noticed him anymore, just another figure behind the wheel, blending into the background of their busy lives. But on one cold December afternoon, Ethan did something that made the whole country take notice. It was supposed to be just another shift. The sky hung low and gray, and the roads were slick from freezing rain. Ethan pulled the big yellow city bus up to yet another stop, where passengers huddled in heavy coats and scarves. But just as the last person stepped aboard, he saw something on the side of the street that made his heart jolt. A little boy, no more than 5 years old, standing all alone by the curb, shivering, tears streaking his cheeks. Without thinking twice, Ethan left the engine idling, hit the hazard lights, and stepped off the bus. Passengers muttered and grumbled, some checking their watches, annoyed by the sudden stop. But Ethan didn't hear them. He knelt down in front of the boy and spoke gently. "Hey, buddy, are you lost? Are you lost? Where's your mommy or daddy?" The boy couldn't get the words out. He was sobbing so hard that his tiny body shook. Ethan took off his own heavy jacket and wrapped it around the boy's trembling frame. Looking around, he saw no adults nearby, no signs of help. Traffic moved on, indifferent. He couldn't leave the child there. He wouldn't. After calling dispatch and explaining the situation, Ethan lifted the boy onto the bus. He sat him in the front seat near the heater and gave him a bottle of water from his lunchbox. Other passengers watched in a mix of curiosity and irritation. Ethan ignored the cold stares and drove the bus straight to the nearest police station, about 10 minutes off his scheduled route. By the time they arrived, the boy was clinging to Ethan's arms. Officers came rushing out, taking the boy inside, where it later turned out he had been missing for nearly 3 hours. His mother, frantic and in tears, arrived soon after, embracing her son and collapsing in gratitude. Ethan thought that was the end of it. He would explain the delay to his supervisor and maybe get a mild reprimand for being late. But when he returned to the depot that evening, his world flipped upside down. His manager, a stiff man named Mr. Colton, stood waiting with a clipboard and a grim face. "You abandoned your route, left the vehicle unattended, deviated without authorization. You're terminated effective immediately," Colton said, handing Ethan a termination notice without even a second thought. Ethan tried to explain, but Colton's mind was made up. Rules are rules," he barked. "You cost the company money, Mr. Brooks. Emotional stories don't pay fines." Stunned and humiliated, Ethan packed his belongings from the locker room. Other drivers whispered and avoided eye contact. To them, he had broken the golden rule. Don't mess with the schedule, no matter what. That night, Ethan sat in his tiny kitchen, head in his hands, wondering how he would tell his wife and daughter. Christmas was just around the corner. Bills were already stacked high. He didn't even have a backup plan. And though his heart told him he had done the right thing, a small voice inside whispered doubts. Maybe you are a fool, but the world had been watching. One of the passengers on the bus that day, an elderly woman named Mrs. Ramsey, had taken a video on her phone. She posted it online with the caption, "Our bus driver saved a lost child today, and his company fired him. Let's make sure he's not forgotten." The video exploded overnight. News outlets picked up the story. Ethan's face, once invisible to the city he served, now flashed across TV screens and cell phones everywhere. Strangers called him a hero. Donations started flooding into a GoFundMe that Mrs. Ramsey had set up. People left messages of support, offering job leads and words of encouragement. But the biggest surprise came 3 days later when a call came through while Ethan was still trying to process everything. "Hello, is this Mr. Ethan Brooks?" a voice said warmly. "This is Amy Rodriguez from the governor's office. Governor Patterson heard about what you did, and he would like to meet you personally." Ethan's knees almost buckled. He thought it was a prank. But 2 days later, he was standing in the marble hallways of the state capitol, nervously tugging at the sleeves of his best and only suit. The governor greeted him with a firm handshake and a wide smile. Cameras flashed as Governor Patterson handed Ethan a framed certificate for outstanding civic duty. and announced that the state would be awarding him a special medal at the New Year's ceremony. The governor spoke into the microphone, saying, "Ethan Brooks reminded us all that following rules blindly can never be more important than protecting the vulnerable among us. In a world that often moves too fast, Ethan stopped. And because he did, a family was made whole again." Offers poured in after that. Schools asked him to come speak to students about kindness and courage. Transportation companies offered him new driving jobs, better paying, with better hours. Eventually, Ethan accepted a position as the transportation safety coordinator for the whole city, a job where he could rewrite policies so that no driver would ever be punished again for doing the right thing. Months later, sitting around the dinner table with his wife and daughter, Ethan finally smiled in a way he hadn't in years. He had lost his job, yes, but he had found something far greater, a new purpose, a new respect, and the powerful reminder that even when the world looks the other way, one small act of compassion can change everything. He taught his daughter that night over warm apple pie that sometimes doing the right thing comes with a cost. But that cost is never greater than the reward of knowing you stood up when it mattered most. And somewhere out there, a little boy who had once been lost slept safely in his bed because Ethan Brooks chose kindness over convenience. The world hadn't forgotten, and neither would he.